I sat across from Daniel at our favorite cafe, rehearsing the words in my head one more time. My palms were sweating against the warm ceramic of my latte cup. I think we should break up. The words hung in the air between us. I watched his face carefully, waiting for the shock, the desperation, maybe even tears. This was it, the moment he'd fight for me, prove that 3 years meant something. Daniel set down his coffee cup. The soft click against the saucer felt too calm, too controlled. If that's what you want, Maya, he said quietly, then okay. My throat tightened. That's it? You're not going to ask why? I've learned that when someone wants to leave, they've already made up their mind. I won't beg you to stay if you don't want to be here. So you don't even care? Panic crept into my voice, replacing the confidence I'd felt moments ago. I care very much. He stood, reaching for his jacket. But I respect your decision. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, Maya. He left a 20 on the table and kissed my forehead, that gentle gesture that suddenly felt like goodbye. Then he walked out. I watched through the window as he crossed the street without looking back. Not once. My phone buzzed. Sophie. How'd it go? Is he blowing up your phone yet? I stared at the message, then at the empty chair across from me. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. 3 days? Nothing. I checked my phone obsessively, morning, noon, night, every minute in between. No calls, no texts, no desperate messages begging me to reconsider. He's playing hard to get, Sophie said over lunch on day 4. Trust me, he's probably a mess right now. Give him a week. But I knew Daniel. He didn't play games. Marcus leaned against my cubicle that afternoon, his cologne suffocating as always. So, you're single now? Taking a break? I corrected. His loss. A woman like you? He should have fought harder. Should have. Past tense. By the end of the week I broke. I texted Daniel, "Can we talk?" The message showed as read immediately. My heart leaped, but no reply came. An hour passed, then 2. I called. 4 rings, then voicemail. Hey, it's Daniel. Leave a message. It's me, I said, hating how small my voice sounded. I wanted to talk. Call me back? He didn't. That night I drove past his apartment. His car was there, lights on in his second-floor window. He was home. He just wasn't answering. My mother called during my stakeout. Maya, when are you bringing Daniel to dinner? Your father wants to talk to him about that design project. We're taking some time apart, Mom. Silence, then a long sigh. Why do you assume I did something? Your grandmother used to do that. Test people. Push them away to see if they'd come back. You know how her story ended? I did. Alone in a nursing home, bitter that everyone had abandoned her. Daniel's not like that, I said. He'll come around. The good ones don't come around, Maya, they just go. She hung up, leaving me sitting outside Daniel's apartment, watching shadows move across his window. 2 weeks in, I saw them together. I was at our cafe, the one where I'd ended things, when Daniel walked in with Becca Thompson, the photographer friend he'd mentioned casually over the years. She was laughing, her hand touching his arm. My chest physically hurt. Daniel saw me. Our eyes met for a brief second. He gave me a small, polite nod, the kind you'd give a stranger, and turned back to Becca. I wasn't even worth avoiding. Earth to Maya. Sophie snapped her fingers in front of my face later. You need to move on. He clearly has. It's been 2 weeks, Sophie. 2 weeks. And whose fault is that? You told me to test him. I told you to be playful about it, not actually break up with him. I meant like, I'm so mad I could break up with you kind of thing. She shook her head. God, Maya, do you ever listen? Marcus asked me out that week. I said yes out of spite. We went to an Italian restaurant. He spent the entire dinner talking about himself, his promotion potential, his gym routine, his investment portfolio. Daniel used to ask about my day. Really ask. You're not over him, Marcus said bluntly. I can see it. You've checked your phone 30 times. I have not. 31 now. Look, I'm not trying to be anyone's rebound. Call me when you're actually available. He left me with the check. When I got home, I went through our photos. 3 years of memories. Daniel making pancakes in my kitchen. Both of us at his brother James's wedding. The Portland trip where it rained the whole time, but we didn't care. In every photo, he was looking at me like I was the only person in the world. When had I stopped seeing that? I texted him again. I made a mistake. Can we please talk? This time, the message didn't show as read. I checked his social media. His profile picture had changed him and Becca at an art gallery. Both smiling. That's when the tears finally came. Real. Ugly. I'd lost him, and it was entirely my fault. I ran into Lisa Rodriguez at the grocery store 3 weeks later. She looked at me carefully, like I was something fragile. Maya, how are you? I'm fine. I lied, very aware of the ice cream and wine in my cart. How's Daniel? Her face shifted. He's doing really well, actually. Seems lighter. Like I'd been a weight. He's with Becca now, isn't he? Lisa hesitated. They're spending time together. Maya, he seems happy. Happier than I've seen him in a while. What do you mean, in a while? Can we grab coffee? I think there are some things you should know. 20 minutes later, we sat in a different cafe. Lisa stirred her latte slowly. Daniel told me things the last few months. He felt like he was always walking on eggshells with you. Like nothing he did was enough. I started to protest, but she held up her hand. He planned that weekend trip to the coast for your birthday, remember when you said you were too busy with work? He'd booked everything. When you canceled, he didn't say anything because he didn't want you to feel guilty. My stomach twisted. And the gallery opening he invited you to? That was his first major showcase. He'd been working toward it for years. You said it was boring and left after 20 minutes. Why didn't he say anything? I whispered. He did, Maya. Multiple times. You just didn't listen. He told me about a month before you broke up with him that he was exhausted. He was actually thinking about ending things himself. He was going to break up with me. He loved you too much to do it. But he was tired. So when you did it for him, I'd given him an out. A clean escape. I didn't mean to. I know, Lisa said gently. But impact matters more than intention. He gave you everything. And you kept testing if it was real. Eventually, people stopped wanting to take the test. That night, I went through old texts. Really read them. All those times Daniel had said, I wish you'd come with me. Or I'd love your support on this. I'd brush them off. I'd been so focused on whether he loved me enough that I never questioned whether I was loving him enough. The answer was staring me in the face. I hadn't. My work performance tanked. You look terrible, Marcus said, covering for me after I zoned out in a meeting. Take a day off. I couldn't. Days off meant time to think. Sophie stopped answering my calls after the fourth night of crying. Maya, I can't keep having this conversation, she texted. You broke up with him. He moved on. You need therapy, not a friend telling you what you want to hear. I started seeing Tyler from my gym in November. He was attractive, attentive, interested. He should have been perfect. But every time he did something nice, I compared it to Daniel. Tyler brought me flowers, but Daniel had brought me books he thought I'd love. Tyler took me to expensive restaurants, but Daniel had cooked for me. Tyler was there, but he wasn't Daniel. You're still in love with him, Tyler said after 3 weeks. You say his name in your sleep. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just be honest with yourself, if not with me. This isn't fair to either of us. Another person I'd hurt. After I left Tyler's apartment, I went to Daniel's Instagram. He'd posted a photo. Him and Becca at a street market. Holding ice cream cones. Looking joyful. The caption, finding happiness in simple moments. His brother James had commented, about time you found someone who appreciates you. That felt aimed at me. It probably was. What would I even say? That I was sorry? That I wanted him back? Words felt empty now. I'd had 3 years to say them when they mattered. That night I dreamed of the cafe. But in the dream when I said, I think we should break up, Daniel stood and said, Thank God. I was waiting for you to finally let me go. I woke up gasping. It wasn't just a dream. James Park found me outside my office building on a cold December afternoon, hands in his coat pockets, breath visible in the winter air. We need to talk. My heart hammered. If this is about Daniel, it's exactly about Daniel. He gestured across the street. 10 minutes. We sat in a back corner. James ordered nothing, just stared at me. I need you to stop. Stop what? The texts, the drive-bys, the questions to mutual friends. You're making him uncomfortable. Shame burned my cheeks. I haven't. Lisa told him about your conversation. Marcus mentioned you've been asking about him at work events. And Daniel's noticed your car outside his apartment. Oh God, I'd thought I was being subtle. I just want to apologize. He won't answer my calls. Because he doesn't owe you closure, Maya. You ended it. He accepted it. That should be the end of the story. James leaned forward. Do you know what state he was in after you left? My brother, who never complains, who always sees the best in people, was broken. Not angry, just defeated. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't mean. Stop. Stop saying you didn't mean to. You did this deliberately. You played a game with someone who loved you genuinely, and you're upset you didn't win. I couldn't speak. He's happy now. Happier than I saw him in the last year of your relationship. Becca doesn't test him. She doesn't make him prove his love. She just loves him. Simply, honestly, the way he deserves. What do? I whispered. You move on. You let him be happy. And maybe you figure out why you needed to break something good just to see if it was real. He stood to leave. For what it's worth, I think you're genuinely sorry. But sorry doesn't undo damage. It just acknowledges it. The best thing you can do for my brother now is leave him alone. I sat there for an hour after he left, watching people live their uncomplicated lives. I'd tested his love by leaving, and he'd proven it by letting me go. The person who truly loved me had been the one who respected my decision, even when it hurt him, and I'd been too immature to see it. I started therapy in January. Why did you need to test him? Dr. Morrison asked in our third session. I wanted to know if he'd fight for me. Why did you need him to fight? What would that have proven? That he loved me, that I mattered. And his 3 years of consistent presence, support, and affection didn't prove that? When she said it like that, it sounded absurd. I guess I didn't believe I deserved it. So I had to keep checking if it was real. And now that you've checked and lost him, what have you learned? Everything. Nothing. Over the following weeks, we unpacked my childhood. A father who was emotionally distant. A mother who'd stayed in an unfulfilling marriage, teaching me that love meant suffering. I'd learned that affection had to be earned repeatedly, that peace meant complacency. Daniel had challenged those beliefs by simply being consistent, and consistency had terrified me. By February, I stopped checking Daniel's social media. I deleted his number. I avoided places I knew he'd be. It wasn't easy. Some days I ached so badly I could barely breathe, but I was learning that love sometimes meant letting go, even when you didn't want to. Sophie and I had coffee in late February. You seem different. Quieter. I'm trying to be better. I'm sorry I dragged you into my mess. And I'm sorry I blamed you for advice I chose to take. She squeezed my hand. I'm sorry too. I should have been a better friend. Real friends don't just agree with you, they challenge you. Do you think you'll ever talk to Daniel again? She asked as we were leaving. Maybe someday. When I can genuinely wish him happiness without wanting anything in return. When I'm not the person who hurt him anymore. That's growth, Sophie said. It was. Slow, painful, necessary growth. That night, I wrote Daniel a letter I'd never send. Pages of apologies and acknowledgments. When I finished, I put it in a box with photos from our relationship, not to forget, but to honor what we'd been and accept that it was over. I was learning that closure didn't come from the other person. It came from yourself. Spring arrived with unexpected healing. I'd stopped looking for Daniel in every crowd. Work improved, I got promoted to senior marketing coordinator. Dr. Morrison and I were making real progress. Then, in late April, I saw them at a park. I was jogging when I recognized Daniel's laugh. They were having a picnic, Daniel, Becca, James, and other friends. Blankets, food, sunshine, genuine happiness. I stopped behind a tree, watching from a distance. Daniel looked good. The tension in his shoulders was gone. He was relaxed, laughing in that full-body way he used to before I'd made him constantly second-guess himself. Becca said something, and Daniel kissed her forehead, that same gesture he'd given me the day I ended things. But this time, it didn't look like goodbye. It looked like a promise. My chest ached, but differently. Not sharp pain. Bittersweet acceptance. He was happy. And he deserved it. As I turned to leave, Daniel looked up. Our eyes met across the distance. I raised my hand in a small wave. He did the same, then gave me a small, sad smile. Not angry, not hurt, just peaceful. It was the closure I'd been seeking, delivered in a gesture rather than words. I jogged away, tears streaming down my face. But these tears felt different. Cleansing. I'd spent months wanting him back, wanting him to fight for me. But watching him now, I realized the most loving thing I could do was be glad he'd found happiness, even if it wasn't with me. That night, I pulled out the letter I'd written. I read it one last time, then burned it in my kitchen sink. Some apologies were meant to change you, not reach the person you'd hurt. The smoke alarm went off. I laughed through tears, waving a towel at the ceiling. Even my symbolic closure was messy. But I was learning. Summer brought unexpected gifts. My mother and I had lunch in June. You seem different, Maya. I'm trying to be. Mom, why did you stay with Dad all those years? When he was so distant? She set down her fork, surprised. Because I thought that's what love looked like. Sacrifice. Endurance. Proving yourself worthy of scraps of affection. Did you ever regret it? Every day. But by the time I realized I deserved better, I'd built a life around him. It felt too late to change. She reached across the table. Don't be me, Maya. Don't spend your life testing people because you're afraid they'll leave. Sometimes they leave because of the testing. I squeezed her hand. Generational trauma. Patterns passed down like heirlooms. I started volunteering at a community center, teaching marketing skills. One of my students, Carmen, constantly apologized for taking up space. You deserve to be here, I told her. Stop asking permission to exist. But what if I'm not good enough? Then you'll get better. But you can't get better while you're busy tearing yourself down. The words echoed later. When had I started taking my own advice? In August, Lisa invited me to her birthday party. Daniel might be there. With Becca. My stomach flipped. That's okay. I'd like to come. The party was at a rooftop bar, sunset painting the city gold and pink. I arrived late, nerves making my hands shake. There he was, Daniel and Becca by the railing, his arm around her waist. They looked like they belonged together. I almost left. But Lisa spotted me and waved. Maya! I'm so glad you came. The evening was surprisingly painless. I talked, laughed, made new friends. Daniel and I existed in the same space without collision. Near the end of the night, we found ourselves at the bar at the same time. Hi, I said. Hey! Awkward silence until our drinks arrived. You look happy, I said. He glanced at me. I am. Good, you deserve that. Something shifted in his expression. You look different too. In a good way. I'm trying. Therapy, self-reflection, actually dealing with my issues instead of projecting them onto other people. A small smile. That's good, Maya. Really. We stood there another moment. This was my chance. Not for reconciliation, but for genuine closure. I'm sorry, I said quietly. For all of it. You deserved better than how I treated you. Daniel was quiet. Around us, the party continued. But in our corner, it was just us and 3 years of history. I appreciate that. It wasn't all bad, you know. We had good times. We did. But the way it ended, the way I ended it, that was cruel. I was testing you, and you didn't deserve to be tested. He nodded slowly. I know, Lisa told me. I was hurt, but I also understood. People do what they know, what they've learned. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but I get it now. You're too kind. You were always too kind to me. Maybe. Or maybe I loved you the best way I knew how. And it wasn't what you needed at the time. The truth settled between us. Not blame, not anger, just acknowledgement. I hope you're happy. I genuinely do. You weren't a villain, Maya. You were just someone who didn't know what they had. A lot of people make that mistake. I'm getting there. The happy part. It's slow. But I'm learning. Becca appeared, slipping her hand into Daniel's. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Lisa's about to do the cake thing. She smiled at me. You must be Maya. I've heard a lot about you. Daniel said you two had some really good times together. That Portland trip sounds amazing. She wasn't rubbing it in. She was just nice. It was. Daniel's great at finding hidden gem restaurants. Oh my God, yes. He found this tiny ramen place last week that was incredible. They drifted back to the party. I watched them go, Daniel's hand on her back, the easy way they moved together. No tests, no games, just simplicity. Sophie found me minutes later. You okay? Yeah, I actually am. That night, walking home under city lights, I felt something I hadn't felt in a year. Peace. Not happiness yet. But peace with my choices. With their consequences. With the reality that some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Maybe that was okay. Maybe I didn't need Daniel to forgive me or validate that I'd changed. Maybe I just needed to change for myself. To become someone who wouldn't make the same mistakes again. Not for a second chance with him, but for a first chance at being whole. I'd tested Daniel's love and learned the hardest lesson. Real love doesn't need testing. It shows up, consistently, quietly, in pancakes and gallery openings and 3 years of patience. I'd had it all along, and in trying to prove it, I'd destroyed it. But I was learning. And maybe, someday, with someone new or maybe just with myself, I'd get the chance to love without fear, to trust without testing, to believe I was worthy of the love being offered, rather than constantly checking if it was real. I'd lost Daniel. But in losing him, I'd found the path to becoming someone who wouldn't lose the next good thing that came along. And that, I realized, walking home under the stars, was its own kind of redemption.